us. Hello.
Hello.
Welcome to the Yaoi Shelf. Grab a seat and relax. What was not depicted was 15 minutes of host angst over connections, too many tabs being open.
And browsers that suddenly don't want to work, even though they've been fine all year. So
And browser failure.
the
This
the end
is,
of year struggle is real.
yeah, this is the last episode of the season and the last episode of the year.
Wow.
I can't believe it. We're gonna have a
I
very, very busy few couple of weeks because
yeah.
uh, I don't go home very often, but I do go home for Christmas, so I'll be out. So we have a few busy couple of weeks, but I'm excited.
Yes.
Uh, and I'm excited that, this has been an amazing season. This is season 4 of the show. I can't
Wow.
believe it. I know.
Me
Uh,
neither, but I never know what season we're in, so honestly.
I think honestly, if I lured Carola in with a box with a string attached and like a gravitation manga, I could tell her it's season 50 and she'd be like, yeah.
Sure. I mean, I can't count. I can't do math. I just take
It's
everything.
literally
I
at
just
the
believe
top of
you.
every outline. It's in every episode.
That doesn't mean I actually take it in. The thing is, I was doing a friend of a friend was doing this school project thing and was
Mhm.
interviewing people with dyslexia and dyscalculia. So I have
Mhm.
dyscalculia, the math thing.
Yes.
And I got these questions and it made me realize once again how fucked up I am because like I just live with this. So there's this question that's like, how do you cope with this? Have you figured out any coping mechanisms in your daily life? And I'm like, yeah, I mostly just avoid numbers.
Yeah.
So what my brain does is like I'll be presented with numbers and I just gloss over them. I don't even register them because I'm not going to retain them anyway. So I just don't. I just don't.
Me
Um,
with anything dealing with spatial awareness because I test very poorly for spatial awareness. So it's like, oh, grab this object and rotate it 170 degrees. I don't know what the fuck that means. Don't tell me what to do. So thank you all for being here for this hell of a
Thank
season.
you.
Uh,
Wow.
and we're going to wrap up the year by talking about something that we talked about in the old show, but a lot has changed. That's a common theme with this season and going into season 5 next year is peek behind the curtain, topics that we previously covered, but in a short few years, a lot has changed.
Yep. Yep.
So that facilitates having these conversations again. Because even in the couple of years since we last talked about halls and hall culture, things have shifted a lot.
Hmm.
So we're going to talk about halls and hall culture. We're going to talk about some of the reasons why, especially BL fans, are very prone to this very pernicious form of overconsumption.
I take
We're going
great
to,
offense to this.
and I want to start off with that. This is coming for no specific creator. This is not set in shade. This is not calling anyone out. This is much like Fujin brain rot, stuff that we see, stuff that we internalize, stuff that we have dealt with. So, no, we are not calling out insert creator here. No, we're not calling you out. No, we're not doing any of that. This is stuff that we've seen in what, 20 years each of fandom. So no, we're not like, oh, cancel this one creator. No, we're not doing that. We're not
No.
stepping on any necks. We're not a call out channel unless we're calling out capitalism, which we are going to do a lot in this episode.
As one should. 'Tis the
Uh,
season.
this season. And we're going to talk about why, again, like why especially BL fans are so prone to that. So this is where, as much as I assuade capitalism, support small businesses, including this one.
Yes, please.
We are on Patreon, which gives us the money to make all different kinds of fun things and give gifts to guests, which is something that I am big on because I was raised by Southerners.
Hmm.
Which Might be the only benefit of being black and Southern is I get all the hospitality with none of the racism.
The better of those deals, I
Oh
guess.
yeah, arguably it's a much better deal. I think my friends benefit from it the most because they're the ones that get to see me fully just turn into a Southern housewife. Um, Including feeding them at all. Like anytime someone's over, I'm feeding them. I have left houses cleaner than when I arrived.
Jesus.
I am magic, and it scares people sometimes. But if you'd like to support the show, get some exclusive merch, and get behind the scenes special videos, you can do so at patreon.com/the Yaoi Shelf. Thank you to our patrons. You guys will get a proper thank you at the end of the video, as always. Um, so today we are here to talk about halls and hall culture, starting with Carola. What is a hall?
uh, can I just say that it's like a cursed internet phenomenon of showing off what you have bought for yourself?
Yes.
And I am guilty of it. I do it all the time. I don't call it a haul, but I do
Yes.
it. I like to post my manga hauls on the internet when they arrive.
Yes, it's actually really, really funny because that's something that I've noticed about. That was one of the first things I noticed about Carola because she, as much as she doesn't want to admit it, I definitely saw her like as a manga tuber back when that was a word, where
No,
it was
but
essentially
not
yes,
a tuber because I don't do YouTube aside from this. But like
yes,
I tried to be part of the mangagram community because
yes.
as an author who doesn't
You
do
have
art, I can't. There's a limit to how much BL content I can post that is my own writing. So I try to stay relevant by posting reviews. So
yes,
I but then I don't have any energy for it, so I rarely do it. I used to do it a lot
hmm
more, but yeah, I like
yeah,
I like posting like aesthetically pleasing manga pictures and talking about
yes,
things I've read.
yes.
But that also led me down the path of slight self-loathing.
Yeah. So much like Carola said, halls especially, and you see halls with everything. If you go on
Yeah,
YouTube
every
or
community.
TikTok, every community has halls. There's Shein halls, there's Temu halls, there's this is the haul I got from Costco. That's called going grocery shopping. That's not a haul. It's like, oh,
I
this is my Walmart haul. That's called going grocery shopping.
I mean, considering the financial situation that the entire world is right now, you could
Right.
post like a picture of like one cabbage and you'd be like, this is my haul because this
This
is
is
all
my
I can
wealth.
afford. I
Right.
bought I spent all my money on this cabbage because it's all I can afford.
Is it a deep cut to reference the decaying Victorian pineapples?
Yes.
Okay, so back in the
No.
Victorian
But go
era,
ahead.
pineapples were a rarity that came from the New World. But so only really, really rich people could get like pineapples. So what they would do is like a rich person would buy a random fucking pineapple, and they would just like them and their friends just watch it slowly rot because it's this beautiful novelty, and it speaks so much to Victorian excess, which is stupid of just sitting here and watching a fruit rot. They never ate it. You can't eat it. That ruins it. It's like fucking a virgin. You can't eat the fucking pineapple. You have to sit and let it decompose
See,
until it becomes base matter.
I can relate to this because I will when you get something and it's like too nice, and
Yes.
I'm a hoarder at heart, so
Yes.
I have done this over and over again with different things, but like years and years and years ago when I was straight,
Mm-hmm.
my boyfriend at the time, his dad gave me one of these super fancy like big lint chocolate rabbits for
Yes.
Easter, and I would
Yes.
not eat it, and it would just sitting there on a shelf for literal years until the golden wrapping started peeling off and I actually had to throw it away. And I will do this. I have like Hello Kitty lollipops that my friend bought me in like 2005 that are like sitting in like a
Just
vase.
decaying.
Yeah, but like
Yes.
they're in plastic, so they look fine. And don't get me started on the occasional packages I get from G when there are fan club merch things and there are snacks in them, and I just I just leave them in the packaging, and I never look at them. I am a Victorian. I just don't want to decay.
Is Carola with her decaying Victorian pineapple. Just watching a fruit rot.
I don't even eat pineapple.
I love pineapple.
I don't like it.
Not for the horror reason. Just I love pineapples. I hate that the internet is taken that. It's like, oh, if you eat a lot of pineapples because you're doing the sex stuff, and it's like, can I just not like fruit?
No.
Am I allowed to just not like fruit?
Can the design be me watching a decaying lemon? Because that
yes,
feels
I can do that.
Because that is literally me hoarding manga and not reading it.
That's literally us. So when we say hauls, it's much like Carola said. It's the social aspect of buying usually a lot of things. A haul is not, here's one book I got from the library. It is almost always tied to consumption. It is always usually tied to overconsumption, and it is inherently social for the desire, whether you want to admit it or not, of eliciting FOMO, fear of missing out, and making yourself look big and fancy.
Mm-hmm.
The most insidious aspects of the social internet, because, and again, this is not calling out any one creator, but it's going to feel like a fucking call out. You are doing this to show off how much money you have and how much you can afford, and you're doing that to elicit an amount of FOMO in your audience. It is the dick measuring contest. It is a clout game.
Yes, or if you are not purposely doing it to incite FOMO in others, you're doing it because you don't want to experience the FOMO. Like when I do it, I just want to point out I don't have any money, and this is why. but like it's not to show off that I have money. It is literally to show off that look at me. I am also
one of the kids doing something.
I also am up with the releases that I do not read for 5 years. So this episode is just majorly, at least for my part, me calling out myself. I am painfully aware of my hypocrisy.
And it's me calling out myself a little bit too, because when peek behind the curtain, the former host of this show was a manga tuber. So that conspicuous level of consumption was something that I felt like I had to mimic and model. But because I do social media as a job, I'm very bad at it. I don't like that. I have to do it every day at work. To be a woman is to perform. I don't like it. So usually when I'm showing off the things that I've purchased, it's usually one or two small things. It's very, very rarely these big, grandiose displays of, I dropped $300 at Right Stuff. It's, I went to half price and I found one vinyl record. And because, again, hauls are intrinsically social, and they are intrinsically a clout game, there's not a lot of space for people that, one, are not of the same economic level. Spoiler alert, a lot of the people doing hauls can't afford this shit either.
Nope.
Spoiler alert, many of us have very bad spending habits.
I want to, just putting myself out there. I am not running myself bankrupt. Like, I never use more money than I have, but I definitely have made some dubious financial choices.
Absolutely.
In manga.
No, 100%. And I have too. Like, so I think that dovetails us perfectly into why hauls are bad. And I'm using bad in air quotes because intrinsically there's nothing negative about being a peacock and showing that your dick is bigger than other people's when it comes to the amount of stuff you own. There's a mug that a former coworker threatened to give me that says, whoever dies with the most fabric wins. And I felt that in my bones as someone who hoards fabric. Because there was a time where I used to make things for people and sell them. So I would just hoard, especially licensed fabric of like, oh, this is like officially licensed Pokemon fabric. This is officially licensed, Harry Potter, I know, fabric. So I would just hoard all this fabric for like the intent of, oh, I'm going to sell this. Well, I never did any of the selling, so I just had all this fucking fabric. So the line of whoever dies with the most fabric wins was very much on me. I heard something move. That's probably the demon again. Anyways.
Oh no. Yeah, I'm being distracted. Sansa's having an asthma attack, so I'm just making sure he's not choking to death on the side here. What if it all?
Did he tell you he's having an asthma attack?
Oh, you can notice when he's like coughing his lungs out over there, but I think he made it.
As an asthmatic, I can relate. So hauls aren't intrinsically bad. There is nothing inherently wrong with ostentatious displays of wealth. Well, there sometimes are. We had a whole French Revolution because of that. Like there's nothing super inherently wrong with it. But the bad I want to talk about is when you are bankrupting yourself to fit in. And I think especially BL fans have this problem now when there's so much out there.
Yeah.
There's so many fucking games and so many fucking novels, and you need 13 different subscriptions to 15 different websites. And Juna is always having sales. Tokyo Pop is back from the dead for some reason.
See, this is one of the positive things about being an international fan, because like I can just disregard those sales because either they will not ship to me or the shipping is so ridiculous that there's no point in participating in the sale. So at least that's something.
Right. So bad feels like a really loaded term, but the biggest part is it's when you're bankrupting yourself. It's when you're looking at your bills at the end of the month and is like, I have overspent. I have overexerted myself. I also want to give some culpability to the FOMO. Trust me, there have been plenty of times where I've looked at manga creators, and like figured, am I less of a fan for not buying everything and not reading everything? Because I've been very open about this. I am mentally ill. I do not have the energy, the executive function, the attention span to keep up with manga the way I used to. I am a full-grown adult with a job and responsibilities. I do not consume anime the way I used to. I do not read manga the way I used to, especially BL. Gone are the days where I could snort boys kissing books. I can't do that anymore.
Yeah.
So I think the FOMO part of it can be incredibly negative, and it can be very socially isolating because it brings up this idea that to be a fan is to be a consumer.
Yeah. I think that is such a big part of it. Because, I mean, this is literally what I do, right? And we've talked about how I get weird and competitive about things. I don't consider myself a competitive person normally, but then it comes to like a fandom thing and I get really weird about it. Like, I need to prove that I am the biggest fan. I am the biggest nerd. And it's so stupid.
Yeah. It's very, but it feels so valid when you're in that moment of, when you're looking at all, because, we have a lot of friends and mutuals who are very open about how much they consume. And it's like, shit, am I less of a fan because I don't have 30 million volumes? Am I less of a fan because I don't do this? Am I less of a fan because I don't have the attention economy or the fiscal economy to read 15 things on webtoons?
Yeah.
So,
like I've spent a lot of time recently partially preparing for this episode and partially because this is what my YouTube algorithm has been feeding me. And I've been watching a lot of videos about people discussing book talk and how it ruined reading for them, right? So it's essentially the same thing because it's the whole, but especially if you look at book talk in particular, like take Colleen Hoover. I still haven't read a single Colleen Hoover book, which is one of these things where I feel like I've been on the roller coaster ride, but I still have
Mhm.
no idea what the books are about, because I've been there watching people go from, oh my god, these are the greatest books ever, I am obsessed, to, oh my god, I'm so fucking fed up with Colin Hoover, I never want to touch her books ever again. And I'm like, what the frick
Right.
happened? Book talk happened. And
Right.
there have been so many videos in my feed recently where people are talking about how they, lost themselves because suddenly everything is all about consuming the right thing, consuming the trendy
Yes.
thing, buying the books that
Yes.
everyone is buying, reading the books that
Yes.
everyone are reading, and then,
Yep.
of course, reading books only to check them off on Goodreads to see how many
Right.
you can read. And that is not a healthy way to consume anything. And for a
It's
lot of these
not.
people, I think especially the younger ones, at
Mhm.
first you get a kick out of it because you feel like you're part of a community and everything,
Mhm.
but then it just feels like it's just empty. There's just
It's
this
a
void.
prison.
Yeah, because you're just
Yeah.
doing it because you're not, you're
Right.
just reading these books. And that's the thing, like, if you want to be, whether that is book talk or manga, the manga community, if
Mhm.
you aren't jumping on the series that everyone is reading, you're irrelevant. Like, no one cares if you post about something that isn't on the top 10 list,
Right.
because that is what you're supposed to, I'm using air quotes, supposed to
Right.
be talking about.
Right, like 100%. Because like I get that a little bit as a YouTuber. I know we said we're going to keep this very narrowly in Yaoi and BL, but of course we're not. Um, but like I know I have that because
It's
I talk.
related.
It's related. I talk a lot about older series, so like yeah, I don't get those good SEO,
Yeah.
little scraps because no, I don't want to talk about Shield Hero or I don't want to talk about One Piece. I will never talk about One Piece. Leave me alone. I'm not going back.
I'm
I
not
left.
going there.
I
Sorry.
fucking I jumped off that boat years ago. I'm not. I swam to shore desperately. I will not go back. You are
I
not dragging me back there.
I dipped my toes in. I watched the first
I
episode.
w- I
I
was
can.
there. I loved it. I even tolerated it when it was the shitty 4 Kids dub. I loved One Piece, and then Funimation took over, and there's thousands of chat. Fuck that. I'm not returning. You lost me. I'm I'm in my mid 30s. I'm never coming back.
I mean, at this rate, looking at One Piece in particular, at age 30, you'd have to use at least half of the remainder of your life just catching up.
I would rather
There's no
catch back
hope.
up to case closed. I would rather go back and read old Lupin. I am not going back. But there is, especially like for creators like me, this intense like FOMO because and we've mentioned this, especially in early Yaoi fandom, you kind of read and did everything, right?
Yeah, but
Because there
there
were
was
5 fucking volumes.
exactly, and there wasn't
So
much to choose from. And this is like,
there wasn't.
this is the big problem. Just speaking, I mean, I'm gonna jump ahead a couple of more points as I explain my own situation, but we'll delve deeper into it. But like, for me, what happened is that I, every single month now, I
Mm-hmm.
order so much manga, and every single
Mm-hmm.
month I tell myself I have lost control. This is ridiculous,
Mm-hmm.
because what I'm
Mm-hmm.
doing, and like, all the manga I'm ordering isn't BL, but about like at least 90%, 80% of it is BL. And the reason
Mm-hmm.
for this is that I am an old school Fujin. I am used, like, when I was
Mm-hmm.
younger, there was a limit to what I could buy because I was young and I didn't have any money. And there was a
Mm-hmm.
limit to what I could get because I could only get it at one specific physical store, and what they had
Absolutely.
were my options. Now I have the internet at my fingertips. I'm an adult. I have disposable income, and
Mm-hmm.
I have gotten used to buying everything that is on offer. But now
Mm-hmm.
there is so much of it, and
Right.
I have this need to, and this isn't even about, wanting to catch up with everyone and like read what
Mm-hmm.
everyone is reading. It is literally that primal instinct I have in myself that is telling me I must buy all the BL. because that's what I've
Right.
always done. But now
Exactly.
there's so
And-
fucking much of it.
And then you add on someone like me who is very openly admitted, like, hey, this stuff doesn't hit for me the same. Like, whether it's burnout, mental illness, or just getting old, I'm just not interested in a lot of the stuff that comes out.
And that is so valid.
Which is, yeah. So it's like, okay, so now I feel like I'm already lesser of a fan because I'm not spending $500 a month on backwards comic books.
Don't do
I'm
it.
fundamentally not interested in a lot of this stuff. So I think where it's bad is the FOMO, the overspending, and then shaming others.
Yeah.
Now, I will say this is very much not as present in the BL community because for the most part, we're just happy that there's gay shit.
Yeah,
so
right.
I don't see this as much in the BL yaoi community. I do see it in manga tube a lot though. That it's like, oh, you didn't buy this $300 box set, you're not a fan. Fuck off.
See, this is why I don't do communities.
Literally is the co-host of a communal show.
Yeah, but that's different because I mean,
Okay.
Let's not pretend like I am very actively participating in our community. They're Jesus
Me
Christ.
up till 11 last night watching an H-Bomber guy video that's 4 hours long.
I'm so sorry, everyone. I truly do love our community. I'm just socially burned out. I can't.
The candle was never lit for Carola.
No. I'm sorry. Like
you can't burn out if it's a wet candle. A candle has never been lit.
This candle has just been floating like in the bottom of a ship that is sinking.
Right. That candle is in a box submerged in the hull of a boat. That candle hasn't been lit in decades.
Listen, that candle is at the bottom of the ocean with the Titanic. That is my candle.
Those poor people that were trying to explore it.
But
it's guilting others into thinking that they're less of a fan for not consuming. Because here's the funny thing about economics: the world's on fire right now. America is dealing with a recession. There's inflation. Manga is expensive. And if the choice is ever electricity or boys kissing books, I'm choosing electricity.
You know, there's a part of me that, on the one hand, would actually consider that. But also, I think I have enough unread boys kissing books that I would be able to make the choice of electricity.
But I could just be like, honestly, at this age, I could just do like Rent and throw my unread manga into a trash can and burn it and heat my home.
I have problems. So, no, but also, and another thing that adds to that, of course, is, not only is the world on fire in the financial crisis kind of way, but there's the environmental part of it, which I know nobody likes to talk about, but I am so acutely aware of how my consumerism, and I like to tell myself that I'm not so bad because I'm not, because I hang on to everything I own, right? I don't throw anything. I don't throw the boxes of my figures away. I don't sell anything. I don't give anything away. I wear my clothes until they literally fall apart. So I'm not the kind of person who buys stuff and then buys new stuff to replace it almost immediately. I don't need a new phone every time there's a new model, but I buy so much manga and so many figures and so many books, and most of it I have to order because it is cheaper for me personally to order it rather than buying it here, if it even is available here. But that means everything is being flown by airplane and driven by cars, and there's the climate taxes, and there are the packaging. And it is so bad for the environment, and I am such a hypocrite. I know.
I don't want to diminish where you're going. And when we decide on where we're going to start posting our sources, I will definitely link some videos that talk about the climate crisis and fast shipping, especially for us Americans with Amazon. Because for a lot of us, Amazon is our go to retailer, and 2 day and 1 day shipping is killing the planet. But also, just to put into comparison about climate change, it is never on individuals to fix climate change. It is a
No.
corporation issue, and while there are things that individually we can do to help, as long as there is Coca Cola and there is harvesting of palm oil, as long as there is e waste in the Congo, as long as there are all these things, I don't care if you go chop down the trees yourself and hand draw your own fucking manga. Your consumerism is not the problem. It is so there are absolutely valid ways to talk about this, but that's one big thing that I'm huge on when it comes to like talking about the ecology of consumerism is
Mm.
that isn't an individual thing usually. That's a business thing. So like
Oh,
Timu has that problem. The way Timu uses, I'm going to go ahead and say it, slave labor and really, really sketchy practices and their shipping practices, that's not on people who are just looking to buy cheap shit because they can't afford expensive shit. So, anyways, that's Amanda's Marxist corner. Hello. So hauls are bad when they make you feel bad, when you are making other people feel bad, and when you are overexerting yourself. That's when hauls are bad. Hauls can do some good. One of the biggest things, especially about BL hauls in the start, was to show off, to show other fans. I know so me and former co-host are both huge fans of Fumi Yoshinaga. I know Carola is as well, but not quite in cult
no,
status yet.
I'm not quite
Working on
there
it.
yet.
Yeah, we're working on it, but not quite there. So that wasn't a dig at Carola. I'm just acknowledging not quite at cult status yet. So like we would show off when we would go to like stores, like, oh my god, I found all this Fumi Yoshinaga. Because especially Fumi Yoshinaga has a lot of works that Americans have never heard of.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
he's been producing manga for all these fucking years, and people only know Oku, What Did You Eat Yesterday, and Antique Bakery.
yeah.
So, hauls, when they're done as a form of education, it's, oh, here's a bunch of works by, you know, Fumio Yoshinaga, by Ko Yoneda. Here's a bunch of works by older mangaka. That's when hauls can be great. And just like when we talked about Fujin brain rot, the social aspect, when you are not trying to elicit FOMO, when you are just excited and showing off what you have, that is electric. I
Yeah.
love, so I got into the cult of collecting vinyl records because I'm that bitch. And like, my friends and I have a little like de facto like vinyl records club, and it's just like being a dick at a vinyl store where it's all your hipster friends like, oh, I got this one single from 1975, but like we're not doing it to be mean to other people. We're having a good time. We mostly buy like anime OST vinyl. Like I have one of the Devilman vinyls.
Mm,
So
that is
like
very cool.
it's very cool. It's very cool. I have the Foolie Cooley vinyl. I have the Cowboy Bebop vinyl. So like, it's mostly just us being nerds. So like, is there some conspicuous consumerism in that? Of course there is. Those vinyls ain't cheap. But for the most part, it's just us being excited that we got this thing.
Yeah,
So it isn't, or like when I got back from Japan and I was like, here's all the money I spent on Gachapon. It
yeah,
wasn't just, hey, don't ask why I have no coins left. Don't ask. It was, here are these dumb things that I love. Please look at them and appreciate them. When
yeah.
I started falling in love with Nindoroids, that wasn't, please calculate how much money I've spent on plastic figurines. It's, oh my god, I love this tiny man so much.
Yes. And I mean, yes, and that is such a big part of it. Like the joy
Yes.
these things can incite not only in yourself, because let's be honest, you know, I buy these things because they make me happy. But you
Right.
know, when you nerd out with your friends about it, whether you know, or an online community like that, you know, it's so
It's magical.
it's
Like,
magical. It's very fulfilling.
when I started sharing my Nindos in our server, it was like, oh my god, look at the boy. And it's like, look at the boy.
And it's like,
Like,
and you know those accounts that do like the Nendo photography and they
I
put them
love
on
it. And
I love that
and
so
it's so cool. Like,
yes.
so like when I share that I have all this manga, that I have all this, it's because I'm excited. It's because I'm not trying to make anyone feel bad. I know that I have bad spending habits. I know that I have horrible impulse control. But I'm doing it because I'm excited, because I care.
Yeah.
And because I love this dumb thing, and I want you to love this dumb thing as much as I love this dumb thing. And I'm hoping that we can connect over this dumb thing.
Right?
So I think hauls, when done appropriately, are great, because one thing also that they can be used for is a tool, again, to find other things that you like. So especially, like, I know everyone talks about the summer Hikaru died because no one has read any other manga. I mean, the summer Hikaru died is very, very good, but like, I love that. To me, it felt like the way people were talking about Yuri on Ice, like no one has seen another anime. It's like, oh my god, it was the first blah 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 to do this. It's like, it's good.
I just read, I mean, I finally got the Summer Hikaru Died Volume 2 in the mail because, everything takes forever.
Yes.
And I, for some reason, had lulled myself into thinking that it was only 2 volumes. And now I'm upset. Because now I'm like, what do you mean I have to wait for Volume 3?
Yeah, I mean, it's good. I like it. This is not me nagging the Summer Hikaru Died. It just gives me, like,
I know that you really enjoy it.
It just gives me, like, very, like, big, like, given Yuri on Ice vibes, where it's like people who've never read another fucking series.
I feel like I mean, I will say that I have been so tired for so long that I haven't really been on the social internet for a while, other than to scream about figure skating, which is literally just me talking to myself.
Which is Carola admitting that it's my job to do the social internet part, which is why I'm so tired.
I am sorry, but I want to say that we do have this weird time is an illusion. Time is also a serious time difference between us. And every time I log on our account, like in the mornings, my time, our timeline is dead. There has been no since you were on the day before. So I'm over here like there's nothing to interact with because I am literally on a different planet. But yeah, no, I will say I haven't been, a lot on like Twitter or other social media for a while. And so that might be part of it, but I haven't really seen a lot of people talk that much about the Summer Hikaru Died, actually. But maybe I'm just...
It's really tangential for me. For the most part, people are talking about it in a very, very thoughtful and great way. So it's more like periphery. It's like, it's on the crest of the horizon. It isn't that much, but it's enough to annoy me, which does not take a lot. I'm an old man.
I mean, same though.
Yeah, I'm an old man. It is not the overwhelming conversation, which thank God, because I would throw that book across the ocean if that happened. But it's enough to where, like, I can see it on the horizon and I'm like, get off my lawn. So I think in a lot of ways, hauls in their purest form are good. They can be a great way to show people works by a creator that they haven't thought of or seen before. Sometimes you get a rare thing and it's fun. It's exciting. We're at the end of the day, we're all just fucking gremlins. And, you get a new shiny thing and you just want to show it off and it's exciting. So I don't think that hauls have to be negative. I do think that we can reclaim hauls to be a positive thing. Now, how did we get here?
Well, it was
it took a while. It did take a while.
Yeah.
Tragically, we have to talk about gatekeeping. We have to talk about gatekeeping.
As usual.
Yeah, as usual. We hate talking about it, but I know one thing that kept a lot of fans initially from sharing is, again, it's that need to be the top fan. It's I am the biggest consumer, I am the best consumer, I'm the most consumer. So there was a lot of gatekeeping that led to this almost radical desire to democratize halls. And you can see current hall culture almost being an overcorrection of that.
The rest of the recording.
We're going to try to get through the rest of the thing. You guys did not see several minutes of back and forth about panic troubleshooting, but we're going to press forward.
Yes.
All right. So,
hopes and prayers. Yes.
How did we get here when it comes to halls? Going from being this genuine expression of mutual excitement to this being a life-sucking, FOMO-inducing, hellish miasma.
Spoiler, it's them damn kids and their cell phones.
I mean, it's a lot of things. Okay, we're going to start with gatekeeping.
Yes.
Because this is something that both of us can speak to as two people who have very complicated feelings about gatekeeping.
Oh, God. I am... Call me Sailor... Wait. Which is the... Oh, my God, I'm terrible.
Are you thinking Pluto?
Yeah, Sailor Pluto, because she's the gatekeeper. I'm sorry, Pluto.
I love that I did not need any additional information for that one. But, so I think gatekeeping is a big aspect of it. Is, at first, we didn't share a lot of what we purchased because it was ours. It was our dragon treasure. It was, I'm the one with the most manga and I'm going to die with the most manga.
And build my pyramid when I die out of manga.
And you can share with your close friends. I mean, and even that was, a bit of flexing, as the kids would say. It's like, because I remember, so in our friend group, we had one friend, her name was Ashley, and her mom would buy yaoi for her, the 18 plus stuff, because she didn't care. Her mom was the mom that, clearly wasn't paying attention. It was just like, oh, this book is 18 plus, whatever, and would just buy her books. And she's like, I'm just glad my child's reading. So she didn't really care. So, there was a lot of, flaunting. Look what I got.
Yeah.
Because your mom doesn't love you enough to
my God.
Well, because, we're minors. We shouldn't be reading this stuff. I mean, so it is a form of negligence. I mean, she's not listening to this show. If you are, you still owe me money from high school. Just kidding. I don't know.
Jesus Christ.
It's a level of flex. My mom doesn't love me enough to keep me from reading adult material. So here, look at what I have, fellow youths. But there was that flip side to it.
Just for later. I dropped you a message for later.
I saw. But for us, we would share with our close friends. I mean, there also wasn't a social internet back in those days.
No.
What were you going to do? Post your nerd shit on Zanga? No one fucking cared.
I vaguely remember there was you can't even call it a trend because it was probably 5 of us, on DeviantArt, where we would post pictures of our rooms. And, you would tidy it up real nice.
Yes.
And you'd make sure that I found these photos recently, and it's so funny because it's my little manga shelf, and it has 15 volumes at the most of 3 different series. And I'm like, oh, look at Baby Chew.
Speaking of DeviantArt, the social internet is also a huge factor in it. So again, back when we were younger and the dinosaurs were still roaming and Jesus was just nailed to the cross, because those things happened at the same time, according to Christians.
Yeah, apparently. Everything was just,
So back, during the time of Noah's Ark and the dinosaurs, when we were teenagers, before electricity.
I mean, honestly, there was no internet. We didn't, I've said this so many times, we had dial-up internet in this house until 2008.
And the internet that we did have, I mean, it was social, but not in a way that we know it. Because, it feels disingenuous to say that the internet wasn't social. I didn't make tons of clout dollars on Quizilla without it being a social aspect to it. I didn't become one of the most popular porn writers on Quizilla without there being a social aspect to it. And even the social aspect of it usually was taking something offline and bringing it into real life. Printing out webcomics, which you did all the fucking time. Our libraries hated us. So, but like the true social internet, the social internet that is, you know, X, formerly Twitter,
Twitter forever.
Twitter forever, just to piss off Elon. That was, you know, DeviantArt. That was, you know, Facebook. That was Instagram. That was YouTube. That was a huge factor. And I noticed this. So, like, there is an amazing progression if you watch my old YouTube videos of watching this wall transform. So it started with just one or two pieces of fabric because what actually happened is there was a little scuff on my wall from my chair. So I put some fabric behind it to hide the scuff mark because I couldn't let people who are watching me see this giant scuff mark behind me. So you can see the building up of this giant fucking wall behind me where I'm accumulating pieces over time because I was painfully aware of what it meant to be perceived. I was now noticing that other people are looking at this, and I don't want someone to say, "What the fuck is going on with your wall?" So I went the dazzle camouflage route that you can't say anything about my fucking wall except for how cool it is. Shut up. So I noticed that with fandom, that, you know, we used to be so proud of little subtle signifiers. Like,
Yeah.
oh my God, I was one of the people that had a Full Metal Alchemist pocket watch. I still have it. So, like, watching people with their little alchemist watch silver chains, little charms and stuff on our backpacks, those horrible, you know, those like messenger bags you get like only at convention that have like anime and manga on it, and it's horrible, but like they're thick as fuck. I have a gravitation one, I have a Full Metal Alchemist one. Like there are all these little like subtle and not so subtle signifiers to, you know, flash that we were fans. Well, now that we're on the social internet, it isn't just people in our immediate vicinity who are looking at us, it's everyone.
Yeah.
And because, especially so many of us, spent so much of our anime and manga career being gatekept and told that they're in a long con, now we have to over-examine, like, look, I am a fan. Look at all the books I have. Whoever dies with the most manga wins. Because I've spent 15 years being told I'm a fake fan, that I'm not here, that I'm not valid, that I'm only doing this for male attention, that this is a phase I'm going to grow out of. So now I have all these eyes on me. I have nothing but indignation. I'm 5'1". I cannot be the bigger person. I physically cannot be the bigger person. I will always be small and petty.
I believe overcompensation is the word.
Ready to fight God. So of course I'm gonna overly conspicuously consume. Look at all these books I have that show you that I'm valid. And then that stopped working with women because then you get like the whole like Gamergate thing where they're like, oh, you're only buying that to signal to men. Yeah, I'm reading fucking Motohagia to signal to men.
Yeah.
I'm reading Princess Jellyfish to appeal to men.
But honestly, more men should read Princess Jellyfish. Come on, boys.
All men should read Princess Jellyfish. Yeah, I'm up here considering cosplaying George from Paradise Kiss to appeal to men.
Yes.
That's why I'm here. Male gaze.
Oh my god, that's what we should do next. You should do you do George and I'll do Atsushi.
Oh, so we just be insufferable gaze?
And then I'll pierce my cheek with a safety pin.
Just worse insufferable. Okay, so the theme for next year is insufferable gaze. Somehow worse than the previous years of insufferable gaze.
We have to up our game, Amanda. We are talking about showing off here.
I was thinking either Wolfwood and Vash or something else, but no, you want insufferable gaze.
I don't know. I just think
also part of your long con plan that ends with me cosplaying as Austria again.
Yes,
okay.
Actually, yeah, that was you got me. You got me. That is exactly.
Carola's plan for getting on this show was talk about gravitation as much as possible.
Yeah,
and force me back.
I mean, yes, actually, yes.
Yeah. to get me back into my Austria cosplay. Those are her two goals, and she's working on goal 2.
Yeah, especially because I didn't actually know about our mutual love for Austria at that
He's
time.
perfect.
So clearly that was my plan from the beginning.
Because Roderick is the best character. He's the only one to be canonically married and the only one to be canonically divorced.
He's so friggin' beautiful.
He's so pretty.
I love him.
He's so unbothered.
He's got great
I mean,
fashion sense.
some great fashion sense. And like he has so many pairings that you can throw him to.
Yeah.
Like he's very versatile. I mean, that's what happens when you're conquered a bunch of times and when the whole Roman Empire falls and suddenly you're by yourself. I mean,
But
obviously,
fabulous.
yeah, OTP is Austria and Prussia. That's the OTP. With a very, very soft love of the absolute hate fucking between France and Austria.
Jesus.
They do not like each other. It is angry, and there is a lot of swearing in multiple languages.
I mean, that's fair.
Oh my god, just like that art I sent you of Knives and Miguel.
Yes.
First of all, who crawled into my brain and pulled that out? I need to know. Because those two men, the chokehold they have on me, hopefully physically one day, and then metaphorically. The absolute stranglehold those two men have on me. But then also, they would rip each other apart.
I mean, we actually finished. I know it took literally all year. We finished Trigun yesterday, the original, the 98 version. I now know Million Knives. Jesus.
And you have no questions about any quirks of my personality.
No. I mean, it's,
Everything makes sense.
the puzzle pieces are slotting together as we speak. But I was like,
I have loved that weird nerd since I was 16 years old.
I may have screamed at the screen a couple of times, what the
He
fuck
just-
is your problem? But
Vash. Vash is his problem.
Clearly. Yeah,
The answer is Vash.
So Stampede is next, because clearly I need more of this.
I do like B Shonen Knives. B Shonen Knives is a mood. But
because he wasn't very pretty. I mean, he had his moments.
Need him
but
to be. That's
No,
the worst. That's how you know you're a true fan. That's how you know you're not in it for male gaze. I loved him when he was a spindly nerd.
I don't mind spindly nerds.
He's a spindly, pathetic nerd, and I love him.
Yeah, well, But yeah,
And you have no more questions about anything in my personality.
No, I finally understand so much more. It's all coming together.
That I've been trying to steal Wolfwood's gender since I was a teenager.
I mean, Wolfwood is great, and I love him.
He's such good gender.
Very gender, very.
He is so gender. But like even like this, we didn't have this when we were younger.
No,
So, like when we did hauls, we had physical malls. So like we didn't really have halls. We were all shopping together. So it was like me and my herd of fangirls that were all running around a mall together like a pack of fucking hyenas.
Yeah, that
showing off to each other. There was a social aspect of it, and it feels disingenuous to say there wasn't a social aspect of it, but it was close, it was intimate, it was curated. I didn't have other people. I mean, I had other people judging me. We're in public at the fucking mall. Lots of people were fucking judging us. But like, I didn't care about the guy at the arcade. His opinion didn't matter to me. And in theory, the random guy on the internet's opinion doesn't matter. But when you hear that 50 times, it matters a lot. So the social internet was a huge aspect of it, and we have to talk about FOMO and trends. So we mentioned the fear of missing out. That's another huge one. We were huge, overly, conspicuous spenders of BL back in the day. And now you have to do that to maintain a certain level of clout. There are so many more titles than we ever got when we were younger. So now we're concerned. It's like, oh shit, What if I'm missing out on the next best thing? What if this is the next insert whatever great yaoi title you pick?
But also, and this is very true for me personally, because the thing is, we've been here. Because one of
We
the
have.
big hauls that I do, I thrift a lot. Like,
Mm-hmm.
when I'm in Japan, I genuinely almost only shop at K Books and Mandarake and Book Off to get like to buy used goods, things that I can't
Mm-hmm.
get anywhere else. And
Mm-hmm.
so I thrift a lot of very old manga published in English. When I say very old, things that came out here in the early 2000s that
Right.
I never got to buy because it was never available to me. Then it went out of print,
Mm-hmm.
and then, like, say, take Fumi Yoshinaga, for instance, because that's what I've been doing this year,
Mm-hmm.
very much enabled by you. I've been, I have been thrifting old Fumi Yoshinaga manga that
Mm-hmm.
you've talked about that I've never had available to me that has been
Mm-hmm.
out of print for ages.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I find it somewhere. Like, I look at thrift books, I look at World of Books, I look at these old
Mm-hmm.
sites like eBay, and I get them where I can because they are
Mm-hmm.
impossible to find. And so at the back of my mind, constantly, when new BL is coming out, is me thinking, but what if this is something that I will end up wanting to read later when it is out of print, and I'll have to
Right.
go through what I've gone through with so many older series now? So I
Yeah.
feel like there's this self perseverance of constantly wanting to buy everything while it's new, because I know
Absolutely.
that if it goes out of print, I'll never find it.
Well, and let's go ahead and slot into this. We'll jump around in the outline a little bit because I do want to talk about, especially for us older fans, how much of this is influenced by an older version of fandom. So we're gonna jump the gun a little bit.
Okay.
Because
I
like so
barely, like, I'm not even looking at the outline because I'm afraid of switching windows in case my
I am,
laptop
so it's
crashes
okay.
again.
It's a couple spaces down, but I'm okay with moving it up a little bit. Lights
The hell?
moving. Uh,
Okay.
like so, anecdote. My great grandfather was born and lived during the Great Depression in the U.S. and he would tell stories about like how he kept money like in like a coffee can in his mattress because he didn't trust the banks,
Yeah.
which that makes perfect fucking sense. He's a black man who was born in like the 19 fucking hundreds.
Yep.
It makes
Yep.
sense why he didn't trust the bank and he kept a gun and money stuffed in his mattress. I totally understood that.
That
Um,
checks out.
yeah. So when you look at especially older fans, one, we are used to buying fucking everything. There are so many random manga that I bought when I was younger, having no understanding of it, having really just read the back of it and seeing, ah, this is gay, buying it, fucking hating it, honestly, and then never giving it up because it was gay and this is all we had.
Yep, that is
So, like, you'll
90% of my
hear,
older collection
right,
is like stuff I'll never read again, but hell
right.
no, I'm not getting rid of it.
And you've heard us say that so many times. Like, we'll talk about the series that were formative to us, and it's like, yeah, I fucking hate this. I'm gonna die with it. Like, I'm gonna.
There are so many one shots in particular on my
Right,
shelf that are like early June releases.
right.
The bigger ones.
I
I
do.
have I don't know what their name. I don't know what they're
Right.
about. Most of them are like mangaka I've never heard of outside of those
And you
stories.
will never hear from them
I
again.
and I will never get rid of these volumes
No,
ever.
because we are one very reactionary, and two, we saw Titans fall. We saw what happened with Tokyo Pop. We saw what happened with DMP. We saw what happened that if we don't preserve, especially physical media, and this is something that's happening a lot right now as more and more companies phase out physical media in favor of subscriptions so you don't own anything anymore, that we panic buy. Like my great grandfather with his money under the mattress, we just buy shit sometimes because what
Yeah,
if it doesn't come back? What if
yeah.
it's out of print? What if the mangaka fucking dies? We're starting to have that problem really badly. Is like, some of these series now are decades old. What happens if the mangaka dies? So we hoard, and this is all reactionary from a very old vestigial version of fandom, where, like, yes, in theory, we have all these ebooks and blah, blah, blah. no, fuck that. What if there's a solar flare and it knocks out the internet? What if something happens? What if you lose? If Juno loses the license to twittering birds, guess what? I still have the book.
Yeah, exactly. Like I literally I retweeted this. I think it was this morning. I can't remember because what is time? There was something from the PlayStation Store saying that they were cutting out. I think it was like Discovery Media. And they were literally like, yeah, well, we're cutting it out so it will disappear from your library. And the tweet said, well, if buying does not mean owning, then piracy is not stealing. And that is a whole other episode that we will do at some point. But that is literally it. I do not trust digital media because a lot of the time, it is literally only available on their sites, in their apps. Sometimes you have to pay to fucking rent the chapters. You don't get to download it. You don't get to put it on a hard drive. What do you do if they go down?
Well,
which is why I buy physical media.
Right, like with Discovery and Zaslav, where he is just cutting titles, and Warner Brothers is just removing things. They removed hundreds of episodes of classic Looney Tunes. These have been on the air for decades, and we're losing it. Sesame Street, which was public, free education for children, has been removed and placed behind a monetized paywall. This is a much bigger conversation, but we have this inherent distrust of media not being ours, so there's this huge consumerist aspect to especially older fans.
Yeah.
And I know, story about me, when I was growing up, we always had a little bit of financial insecurity. So sometimes we wouldn't have access to cable or the internet. That sucked for my entire family, except for me, who had a massive DVD collection. And I remember going through 3 seasons of Hitalia on DVD because I had physical media. I had movies. I had TV shows. So while that, yes.
No, just finish it up.
So while the house didn't have access to media, I did.
Yeah. And likewise, I resisted Netflix for so long because I thought it was stupid. I didn't want to pay for it because it's everything isn't on there anyway. At this point, we still had the last movie rental was right next to where I live, so we would still go there on weekends and rent movies because I preferred that. But really, I would get this sick sense of satisfaction whenever I would scroll down. Obviously, this is several years ago because people were still using Facebook, but I would scroll down my Facebook feed and I would see people constantly, the same people who would ask me, oh my God, why are you still pre-ordering everything on DVD? Would then post on Facebook, does anyone have insert movie title on DVD because they removed it from Netflix? I'm like, that's why. That is precisely why.
And anime fans dealt with this all the time when we had the Anime Network on cable.
Sometimes we didn't have that, but
well, we had that. Sometimes those titles would be up for a week, and you had to watch all of Elfenlied in a week and rot your brain. So, and also again, that there is no casual fandom in the early 2000s. If I missed an episode of Trigun, of Lupin, of Inuyasha, I had to wait for that DVD release because that episode ain't coming back.
No, or if it was something that aired, at least here, things that aired on the regular, you would have to wait for it to loop around.
Right.
To see that episode. I
had to do that with Inuyasha so many times.
I had to do that with Pokemon a lot.
So there was a lot of stuff that is rare or out of print that really fuels Fujin over consuming. So I know, so we have half price books here. Yeah, there have absolutely been times at half price where I will over purchase knowing that so I did this with the gravitation novels. I don't really like the gravitation novels that much. I don't think that they're that well written. We've agreed on this. They are not great as gravitation. We have talked about this. They are not great as gravitation media, but I need it for the collection.
Yeah, it's
and I'm never gonna see this again. Who else has it? And I've joked going to half price books what fucking fangirl died because there's all
Yeah, but I do that too because on one hand, there's the gremlin in me that is like, oh,
Yes.
thank God I can get this now. But I'm also like, did someone die? Because I cannot imagine someone willingly parting with this stuff. Like, could not be me. When I
Right.
die, I expect
Bury it with
people,
me.
yeah, either bury it with me or I swear to God, I'm going to donate it to some sort of museum and they'll have to put up like a manga department in my name. Like it is
Yeah.
very important that is
That's
related to my name. That's the clout
that
I'm
is something that
chasing.
I also wanted was like for my high school to have like this is Amanda's manga library and it was like my donated shit. But like yeah, so we're gonna loop back around to the thing that I think is most at fault here when it comes to hall culture, which is capitalism. Especially as these companies got really, really popular, they learned that one of the best ways to make us buy things was to break things up into individual chapters, to make us
Yeah.
have subscriptions, to make
I
us
hate
have
that.
multiple subs. I hate it. I hate it so much. If you make me buy a fucking chapter, I'm not reading your work. I don't care
No,
how good it is, but if
that
I have to
sucks.
buy individual chapters, I'm not fucking reading it. At that point, it's just principle. I don't care how good it is. It is irrelevant to me. That is greedy. It is greedy behavior.
Yeah, I
Um,
agree. And usually, because we are older fans and we've been
mhm.
around the block, we know that at some point they will collect it somehow.
Yeah.
And
Eventually, it will be collected.
I'll wait.
Yeah, I'll wait.
I'll read the scanlations while I wait. I'm not buying singular chapters.
I
Like, I'm
can't
sorry.
wait to talk about piracy next year. But capitalism is a huge thing of it. And again, it's that doom buying. We rail on Tokyo Pop because that was a huge crater. The vacuum that created it's trauma. Like it's like we talk about it like it's a war flashback because it was.
Yeah.
One day that shit was just gone.
And you know, I am still feeling the aftershocks because I still have series on my shelf that were discontinued when Tokyo Pop went under. And again, like we've talked about this. I don't know how much we talked about it on air, but we've definitely talked about it in private that, you
Mm-hmm.
know, for me, being on the other side of the fucking ocean, we didn't even know what happened to Tokyo Pop over here. Like nobody
Right.
knew. They just disappeared.
Well, in all fairness, like I mean, especially for the age that we were when it happened, we didn't really know either. It was just like, what the fuck
No.
happened? Like one day there was gravitation, the next day there was no gravitation. And Junet at that time had not stepped up and produced more in that wake. So there was just a vacuum. There was just this sucking, gaping wound of a lack of content. So capitalism really fueled that scarcity. And here's where we'll tie into influencers and monopolies. A lot of these companies spend a lot of money telling people that you think are your friends to spend more money.
Hmm.
Now, we have absolutely taken sponsorships. I'm not opposed to taking sponsorships, but I certainly hope that you guys are aware that we are very careful about who we accept as sponsors, and mostly they are small businesses. We have not and probably will not, just by the nature of the content we create, accept a lot of partnerships from Tokyo Pop, from June, from anything like that. Mostly just because of the nature of how we talk about that industry. But these guys spend thousands. Actually, not really thousands, it's hundreds. Because no one pays influencers fairly, and this is a dig at the community. Influencers often overvalue their own worth. This is just an industry thing that I know working with a lot of influencers. Again, this is not a dig at anyone specific, but a lot of influencers will often either overvalue what their worth is or companies will underpay them. So it's a vicious cycle. And then monopolies. Increasingly, these things are run by one or two big companies.
Yeah.
So they'll fuel their own scarcity. One thing that I particularly don't like that June does is they love scapegoating Japan in their own issues with misprints, mislabelings, and scarcity. And it is not Japan's fault, that is June's fault. You guys got the manga to the publisher and it was fucked up. That is not Japan's fault. So this is why we don't get sponsored by Junei and anyone, because this is why. But like they had that whole scandal with one of those Koyoneda manga where it's like, oh, this is misprinted badly. Like, oh, it was Japan. No, it wasn't. Do you guys not have QC?
I didn't catch any of that over the sound of, the Psychedelico Kickstarter campaign that I backed like 5 years ago, and now they are publishing the volumes while I have still not received a single one of the volumes that I backed. But, we're not talking about that.
Apparently we're talking about it.
And I say that as someone who still, like, I still buy Junei's manga, like, all the damn time.
Yeah.
Because this is why we're here talking about haul cultures, because I need to own everything. Because I'm damaged.
But also, like, they're one of the only reliable sources now to do that, which sucks. Like, no, it sucks. And like, when I think of, like, especially like the anime side of BL, where like we get so few anime releases to begin with, that like now the series that we do get, I don't want to have to give Crunchyroll money. I don't want to give Funimation money. I don't want to give.
I'm not allowed to give Funimation money.
You're not allowed. But like, I don't want to give Funimation money. And that's so, and again, it'll lead to this very, very interesting over consumerism where like I will go out of my way to buy things from Japan that I know that I can't consume because I'm not very good at Japanese, because at that point I'm buying out of spite. I did that with that special edition of Twittering Birds Never Fly. One, so you get all the fun perk stuff that I love.
I do love the fun perk stuff. I did that with 10 Count Volume 5 because I wanted the chibi Nandos that came with it.
Yeah, oh my god, the special volume for Twittering Birds came with Don't Stay Gold and then a keychain set of Yashido's license plate. Ooh. Which like objectively stupid thing, but it's like,
I love
his car.
Like, I love it. Yes.
Fujin Brain this is objectively the stupidest thing I've ever spent hundreds of dollars on. But it brought me so much serotonin, it brought me so much joy. But monopolies are a huge part of it. Influencers are paid to make you feel bad. That's their job. They're there to influence you. It's why both of us physically recoil when someone calls us influencers.
I don't want to.
Yeah, it's why we both both of us physically recoil if you call us influencers.
I also think that is, probably also related to, I don't know about you, but the physical image I have of an influencer is not what we look like. Or what we do. No. And yeah.
But that's some of how we got here. Of course, gatekeeping was a huge aspect of it. The social internet fueled it. Influencers made it sexy, and capitalism monopolies ran into the fucking ground.
Struggles.
Yeah. Screams and struggles.
Let's see. I'm going to try to pull up the outline on my phone because I am terrified of touching my browser.
There's only one more section.
Yay!
So, we've talked about how all this stuff is terrible. Can it be better?
Yes.
Of course it can.
Of course it can.
And the number one way that we will always say it can be better is something that we say every single fucking episode. Shop small. Yes. Shop small. Support if you can. Because I also want to acknowledge the privilege that comes with being able to shop small. I'm aware of that. A lot of these smaller creators, all these smaller businesses, they can't always afford to ship overseas. We have seen that. So if you do have the luxury and the ability to do so, shop and support smaller indie creators, stores, and the like. Yiggy Bean didn't pay for this, but Yiggy Bean is fantastic. There are so many other ways that you can support and still get manga legally that support smaller businesses that aren't Barnes and Nobles, Amazon. And yes, there are sometimes some drawbacks to supporting small. They are just as confined to release schedules as everyone else. Sometimes shipping can be a little bit sporadic. And yes, sometimes that means that you're not getting that stuff outside of the US. But the beauty of living in the US is that we have all this beautiful privilege. We might as well use it.
I mean, at least, I mean, you deserve some privileges living in the US.
It's literally the only good thing going for us. You know,
You deserve it.
I don't mean to sound like an old dad, but budgeting. I'm never saying don't buy things that you love, and I'm never going to say that I haven't spent too much money on things that are stupid. I'm going to point in the direction of all these nindos up here, where I say I'm not in a position to tell anyone that I've never bought dumb things.
I mean,
I'm surrounded.
Just because you can't see any of my dumb purchases
right
on this very blank wall behind me.
They're there.
You.
So.
I am looking straight at my Gaku. So my Gaku shrine, my one shrine out of two.
The one, yes,
the one out of two.
So, budgeting. It's like right now there is an artist that I really, really want to support, and I want to buy some merch from them. Guess what? I paid my bills first, and I'm looking at the money that I have available.
Yeah.
And I'm saying I can spend X dollars to buy this dumb thing, and then I can't do this again until after I pay the rest of my bills and get Christmas presents and send a bunch of shit to Carola because she's across the goddamn ocean.
The struggle is real.
So I'm not your dad. I'm also not here to say to deny yourself, because I have severe ADHD. I do not make dopamine on my own. My purchases are my dopamine.
Yeah.
But I do so within my means. Also, having finite space helps a lot. I have decided I have 2 Yaoi shelves. That is not commensurate to my love of yaoi. That doesn't mean that I don't love this stuff. It means I am not buying more bookshelves for my 1-bedroom apartment. I do not need this much physical media of certain types. I know what I'm collecting, and I've made space for it. So, like, I have budgeted out space for the rest of Twitter Birds Never Flies. For whenever Yo Kaneda decides to fucking finish the series, it should have ended 10 years ago.
But, you know, speaking of that, another form of budgeting is, like, I almost want to call it, like, emotional budgeting. Just, like, to tell yourself that it's okay, like, soothe yourself. It is okay to not buy everything. It is okay to, like, it feels so good. I mean, obviously I'm terrible at it because I still buy almost everything that comes up. But for me, I've said this on this show a lot of times, like, I've drawn a line, which is I don't particularly like Omegaverse, so I will avoid the Omegaverse series. I don't have to buy them because I know I'm not going to enjoy them. I am not super into Danmei, and I probably won't become into Danmei because I have chosen not to buy those. Like, to limit yourself and to focus, like, to hone in on whether it's one author, one series, one franchise, and just telling yourself that that's okay, and, like, emotionally budgeting and telling yourself you're not any less of a Fujin just because you don't buy everything, or just because you choose to not jump on every single trend. Like, go with what you want to consume.
Right. And I mean, I feel like, we talk about this all the time with, like, supporting artists. We both know and follow a lot of artists. Some of them we know very closely. And there's so much of a desire, like, just throw money at artists. And it's like, well, that's great. And I want to do that. And I want to use my platform and my finances as much as I can to support who I love. I also have to keep the lights on. So it's understanding what tricks your brain into still feeling fulfilled. So, like, now, because I have limited myself so much, the manga that I do buy is very selective. I am very choosy. I don't go anywhere anymore. After the pandemic, my social anxiety fully kicked in, and I don't go anywhere anymore. But, like, I don't go out and, like, hunt for manga the way I used to, just because I know that, like, I don't need it. I'm not going to read it. I don't read manga the same way that I used to. It's taking up space. So my goal right now is completion of existing collections.
Yeah.
So not starting new collections, it's completing existing collections. So, like, if I find a random volume or two of Gravitation, I'll probably pick it up.
Like, am I
But
going to buy? I'm gonna buy the new editions of Gravitation when they come out because I am
Marilyn,
so hyped to compare the translations and the
yeah,
originals. Like,
and I think that's valid.
yeah,
Right. So, and I think like that's another great place is also, and this isn't in the outline, but getting rid of as you consume. So, like one thing that I kind of want to do is I want to get those big shiny Death Note omnibuses, which means
mm,
getting rid of my individual volumes of Death Note, which is fine, and there's nothing wrong with that because I'm making space for a new thing.
yeah,
One thing I've also learned a lot is for smaller series, I'm totally fine with completing. If it has about 4 volumes, yeah, grab it all. But one thing I'll do a lot is, especially if it's a series that I've already finished, I'll just buy my favorite volumes.
oh,
Yeah, so like I actually do this with shonen a lot, where like I don't own all of Inuyasha. That's 60, 70 fucking volumes. What I own are like Shishomaru's first appearance,
mm,
Moroku's first appearance. You know, like I own key aspects that I really, really like. I do
yeah,
the same with Full Metal Alchemist, where like I don't necessarily own all of Full Metal Alchemist anymore. I own like volume 1 and volume 7, which is where the manga and the first anime broke apart.
mm,
So I own key
yeah.
aspects,
And
especially.
but I mean, I mean, I don't do that because I'm too much of a completionist. But
I'm
I also have, for all my complaining about how we used to only get like one shots and shorter series, I do find myself steering clear of the longer series because I know that if this is about to be 15 volumes,
I'm not
yeah,
ready.
like I don't know if I can commit to that. And that's also one of the reasons in particular. Like I focus on BL because that is my passion, that is where my heart lies, and there's so much of it. But that is
Mhm.
also partially why I've stopped buying a lot of shonen and a lot of
Mhm.
shoujo because they typically go on forever. I will,
Yeah.
and one thing that isn't on the list that is also very, very within the realm of budgeting,
Mhm.
libraries.
Yeah.
Libraries have a lot of manga. You can usually ask them to stock manga. So what I will do
Right.
now is that a lot of the time, if there's a series I want to check out, if it's in an app that I'm subscribed to, I'll read it in the app
Mhm.
or I'll find it at the library and I'll read it. And then if I like it, I'll try to wait and see if they'll release some collection and then like buy it if it's if I find it to be worth taking up space and spending money on. A lot of the time it's fine to just occasionally dip my toes in it. And a lot of the
Absolutely.
times libraries will also sell off old volumes. So
Yes, they will.
I got half of Fruits Basket at the library because they were selling them for like very, very, very small prices a piece, and I was very
I
happy about that.
got um I got an art book of one of my favorite films, which this will shock no one. It's Destino, which is Salvador Dali animated by Walt Disney.
I've actually never heard of that.
So Destino, it's literally one of Walt Disney's like last projects. Salvador Dali made a bunch of paintings and Walt animated it.
Oh, that's cool.
It's literally me. It is me, and it's if you need like a quintessential Amanda piece of media, it is Salvador Dali animated by Walt Disney, and my local library has the bookseller. It's literally
Mm.
called the bookseller. Both the basement and cells. I got that art book for like $1.
Yeah.
It's this huge, thick coffee table book of my favorite film. It is Destino. It is beautiful. I'm pretty sure it's on Disney Plus. And as much as we just railed against subscriptions, this is where I think subscriptions can be useful. Is if that is tempering consumption. So a subscription like Turenta or something, or like Futekia, that gives you access to titles that you aren't necessarily putting on your shelf, where you aren't necessarily having to buy individual chapters, but the subscription allows you access. I think that's where subscriptions are great. That's where ebooks are
Yeah.
great. Is, especially when there are sales, is when you don't need to have that in physical media or as a backup. So I'll sometimes do that as a backup. I will have an ebook version, um, and then my goal will be to get physical.
Yeah.
I know I've been doing that a little bit with Twittering Birds Never Fly, is that sometimes the physical volumes have been taking a little bit longer. So obviously, I'll just pirate sometimes. But I'll do ebook with the goal of buying the physical release when it comes out. So that's where subscriptions can be a great antidote to it. Not when you're paying $3.99 per chapter, fuck that noise. But if you're spending, $5-10 a month to have access to hundreds of titles, that's a wet dream we couldn't have dreamt of when we were here.
And I have Futekia and Manga Planet have always been the same thing, but they used to be two separate subscriptions, and now they're the same. So now, I mean, I have had, I don't even want to admit to this, but I have had a subscription to Futekia for so many years that I very rarely use because I don't like reading digital that much. I will do it, but I tend to forget. So I pay for it monthly and then not use it. But at least now I know that I can also, for instance, read the Nagareboshi Gin series also on that subscription without getting a second one. So, it's because they're a full series, they're a complete series, and you pay monthly and you can read as much as you want. Much better options than paying per chapter or per book.
And also, again, things like Kickstarter. I mean, Kickstarter isn't the best company, but things like that are great to support smaller press, smaller options. Not Juna. Iron Circus comes out with some great queer content, and Spike is a titan. There are so many other ways to get that consumerist itch without feeding into capitalism. And I think I want to wrap up on this very important part of the holiday season, which is to be mindful. And I say mindful in its purest of sins. I'm not saying deny yourself. I will absolutely buy more manga after this. I will buy more BL after this. I will buy more BL that I will probably never read and will eventually have to be shoveled into my coffin with me when I die.
I was listening to an anti-haul video while placing an order for more manga last night. So I mean,
I'm gonna order these pins from this artist that I like when I'm done. As I'm waiting for this video to download, and I'm gonna finish H Bomber Guy's 4-hour video on plagiarism, in which he has called out some of my favorite creators.
You look so gleeful.
Well, one of them is a creator I stopped following, which is Illuminati. I did stop following Illuminati after her whole debacle where everything fell out for her. The other one is Internet Historian, he tickles the 16-year-old boy side of my brain, where he's a white guy on the internet and he's kind of edgy, but he's never overtly racist or sexist, but in that weird gamery guy kind of way where he's not very politically correct and blah blah blah. So H Bomber Guy tears into Internet Historian in this video, and it's thank you for validating the part of my brain that is a woman and hates that 16-year-old boy part of my brain because he's an idiot.
The duality of Amanda.
The duality of Amanda is literally an awful 16-year-old boy who watches Soviet Womble and Russian Badger, and the other side is a literal beatnik wearing a beret talking about third wave feminism and queer theory.
Get you a person who can do both.
But it's a great video. It is 3 hours, 51 minutes, and 9 seconds talking about plagiarism on YouTube.
I think you need to link me to that so I can listen to
it. It's in Discord, but it's great.
Okay.
I put it in recommendations, so if you're on our server, it is in recommendations. It is great. I love H Bomber Guy. He's one of my favorite YouTubers. But be mindful. No one is a better fan than anyone else because they spent more money. You are not less of a fan because you don't physically own material. You are not more of a fan because you own the most material. It's so funny because we talked about the gatekeeping and the clout game. What I found anecdotally is the people that own the most are the ones that usually have the least to say. So they own a lot of volumes, but they can't talk about it. They can't speak, huh?
I can't because I haven't read them yet because I'm waiting for all the series to come.
And not just because they can't, but this is gonna sound this is gonna sound really elitist, but They don't have takes or thoughts. They just have purchasing power. They don't have opinions on talking about the imperialist fascist nature of One Piece. They don't have thoughts about Japan's excruciating hard on for fascist imagery and German warfare in Attack on Titan. They don't have opinions or thoughts. They have money.
But I mean, I still, just putting that out there because we've said it before, that doesn't mean, you're allowed to just enjoy the thing without having takes and opinions. And I think that is important too, to sometimes just
I agree. Like, that was so cunty of me to just like casually get out my lip gloss. So
yeah, sure, cunty. Whatever you say. Me and girl Amanda has awoken.
Wow, so fucking cunty. Wow. Oh my god, I'm so sorry for the me that I. It's like, yeah, I guess you're allowed to just like have opinions. Oh, that was kill me.
It's fine. It's fine. No, but I know that because we talk about this all the time. I just wanted to put.
This is Nick's slip tease in the color slip.
Okay.
Slip tease in the color negotiator.
Oh, you look so smug. You're so pleased with yourself.
It's that duality of Amanda's sticker. Like, I'm not better than anyone else. Everyone just has their opinions. Actually, you're kind of garbage, and I think less than you.
Oh my god.
That was so
so you're terrible. It's been a long year. It has been a very long year.
Oh, that better make it into the year wrap up. That was so fucking. Oh my
god. Funny. Yeah, I'll work on that. God. Yes.
But be mindful. Like knowing, so like for me, I have a lot of stress that comes around during the holidays. I know that usually fuels my overspending. So now that I know that, I can budget around that. So when I'm, desperately seeking dopamine at midnight, I know that those funds are set aside.
Yeah.
And if I do spend, I'm not like, oh shit, now I can't pay whatever bill.
Yeah. And I think that is like the most important takeaway from this is that, we're not shaming anyone. We are clearly also guilty of doing this, but please put your financial situation first. Like, put yourself first in that sense. Don't do anything stupid.
Absolutely. Like, and I think that's one of the things that always frustrates me a little bit, like the influencer side of it, is that they're trying to make you feel bad for who you are. And that's not fair. You don't know my heart. You don't know what I've been through. You don't know what I'm experiencing. You don't know. I'm not any less of a fan just because I don't own 5,000 volumes. I mean, listeners of this show, I think that I'm any less of a fan because I only have 2 sections of shelving dedicated to boys' love. And if any of you do, you can go fuck yourselves.
No, and also, like, here's the thing. It's kind of like the whole, if a tree falls in the forest and no one hears it. It's the same thing. Like, you are absolutely allowed to be excited and show off your purchases and show off your hauls, like, because we do it, because that is super fun. But also, your hauls are still valid even if you don't post them on the internet.
Absolutely. And like, I think for me, it's about intentionality. So like, one thing I love is seeing when people buy our merch. I love that because like, that's to me is such, I mean, it's a positive ego boost.
Yeah. Also, please, if you buy my books, please show them off. I need it.
Like, if you ever buy a manga because we said you'd like it, tell us. Like, there's so much of the social aspect that I think is good and is valid, which is why, much like when we talked about in Fujin Brain Rot, we do have to talk about the negative aspects of it. There's so much good that is in halls and hall culture that it's important to talk about the parts of it that aren't as good and that aren't as ideal and that do lead us to some negative aspects.
Yeah, and especially if, those lead to negative feelings in you. Like if you
Yes.
end up feeling like you're just buying stuff to fit in and to meet some sort of internet requirement, but you don't get any joy from it, and you're financially, decapitating yourself, don't do it.
Yeah, don't do it.
Like
Exactly.
you are absolutely valid to draw a line in the sand and say stop if it's not giving you, if it doesn't spark joy. Like
Right,
me,
100%.
I will never Maria Kondo my collection because it gives me joy.
Right.
But if it doesn't, don't do it.
Right. And for me, especially in the last few years, what has brought me a lot of joy is not adding to my
Yeah.
collection. So, but that doesn't make either of us less valid
Or more valid.
or more valid. I'm not more valid than anyone.
We're just nerds who like to look at boys kissing.
Literally. We're just nerds.
Honestly. The biggest fucking nerds.
We're so
Did you
big
notice that
nerds.
I'm wearing like little gift present
That's really cute.
earrings for the haul special?
It's really cute. But yeah, like there's nothing inherently wrong with hauls. I just think
No.
that I think the social internet and capitalism took it astray a little bit. But I know there's lots of creators that are working on making it more ethical, that are making it more sustainable, that are making it better for the environment and for each other. So that's how hauls are not the worst thing on earth, but how some people made it kind of the worst thing on earth.
I mean, yeah.
To exist is to perform. I had a great time talking about hauls and haul culture, Carola.
Me too, apart from the bit where my computer died, which was traumatic.
Great time editing this in a few minutes.
Lucky you.
No. This is the part of the show where we thank our patrons.
Thank you, patrons.
If you would like to join them, you can do so at patreon.com/the Yaoi Shelf. So a special thank you to Jamie Andreasen, Jay, Amora Blue, Lauren, Persona Non Gratin, Rachel Tanner, Ren, Sarah, Stephen, Sue, Wesley, Lucy, and oh my god, Nabila. Thank you guys so much for supporting the show. You guys get an exclusive next week where we're probably going to talk about some of our the things that we spend money on, which I think I know Carola and I are a little bit different in this. That like they're a little bit, like there are things that I will go ham on when it comes to spending that I know Carola doesn't, and vice versa. So we're gonna pull a peek behind the curtain a little bit, and in the Patreon episode, go over a small season retrospective and talk a little bit more in depth about our goals for 2024.
Yeah, and also patrons, I am working my ass off to bring you a newer version of last month's Patreon special. I am working on it. It is a struggle, but it's coming.
YouTube is still a bitch and is hard to work with, but we are trying, and Carola is doing great to give her all of the praise that is necessary for that.
Fighting for my life.
Carola, we're going to take a little break for a couple of weeks, but then we're back in January. Do you want to tell the audience at home what the first episode of season 5 is going to be?
Yes, let me just double check that I got it right, because I have had... No, I know what it is. I want to make sure I don't jump the gun or something. Yeah.
Yes.
For the first episode of season 5, we are looking at shipping in Western fandom spaces.
Oh boy, we're going to talk a lot about Super Hulock.
No, I mean, okay, you're going to talk a lot about Super Hulock because
No, Patreon January, we're watching Supernatural.
What? Do you know how many episodes of Supernatural there are?
How many episodes are there of Ken Porsche? I don't give a fuck. We're watching Supernatural.
14. There are 14 episodes of Ken Porsche.
A random episode. We are going to watch Supernatural.
Okay, I will watch a random episode. I've actually seen the first episode back when it aired.
Okay, patrons, help us find an episode of Supernatural. We probably can't do a live watch because of copyright, but we will talk about it for an hour, and I cannot wait.
Okay.
So we're going to talk a lot about shipping in Western fandom spaces because as much as our Western fans love to talk about how they don't do gross, dirty shipping stuff, there's this vague specter in the corner of all the shipping that they do. So we're going to talk about that for the very first time of this season 5. I can't wait. As mentioned, patrons, you will get a video next week, and then we are live on the 17th. And I am so excited for that. You can follow the show in a myriad of places, including Twitter, which I say purely to piss off Elon Musk.
The only dead naming I will ever do, Twitter.
Dead naming that's acceptable. We are on Blue Sky. We're working on it. Tumblr. Obviously, YouTube, wherever you listen to your podcasts. I know Google Podcasts is going away next year and consolidating into it's consolidating into YouTube Music, which I think is a terrible move. But we are there. We're also on like Audible and stuff. Like we're really everywhere because I've worked very hard to make sure that we are everywhere. Also, if we are in your Spotify Wrapped.
Yes.
We would love to see that. We've gotten a couple where we are in y'all's Spotify Wrapped. If we are in your Spotify Wrapped, let us know.
Tag us.
Tag us. We also have a Discord that will be linked. And happy holidays, guys.
Happy holidays.
You know what? I'll go ahead and say shop small. And yeah, show us like what you're excited about. Like we do genuinely love the social aspect of fans sharing what they're excited about. We don't hate hauls. We hate
like we share hauls in the Discord.
Yes.
Please do share with us if you're excited about something in the Discord. Like
yeah, we love it. So have a happy holiday. Be safe, everyone.
Be safe.
And we will see you live in a couple of weeks. Bye.
Bye.